Is Alex Bregman already becoming one of the worst free agent signings in Cubs history? It sounds nuts to even ask halfway through year one, but after seeing what we're seeing, maybe it isn't. I don't know about you, but I've been finding it pretty difficult to find anything redeeming about him so far as a Chicago Cub. I'm going to look at his numbers compared to his previous seasons, suggest what may be a drastic action for Craig Counsell to take, and also look at his quote-unquote no-hustle play against the Brewers. You might be surprised as to how I really feel about that one. We'll also see if Bregman is about to reach Kyle Tucker territory as far as fans turning on him. First off, let's look at the numbers. That's the easy part. I'm not a huge analytics guy, but the basic stats we're probably all familiar with tell the story. And folks, his numbers sure do suck. I said it in my last video grading the Cubs at the halfway point, and I will say it again. Alex Bregman has been a replacement in wins above replacement. At the time of this recording, Bregman has 6 home runs. Since he's been a full-time player in the big leagues, and not counting the COVID season, he's on pace for his lowest total ever. He did only have 12 homers in 2021, but he was injured for half the year. His lowest total playing a full season without a significant injury, so that's basically 145 games or more, is 19, and that was in 2017, his first full year in the majors. Sticking with his lack of power, his slugging percentage this year is .335. To put that in perspective, between 400 and 420 is considered average. To put it in even more perspective, this is a player whose career slug is .471 and has never been below .422 for any season he's had in Major League Baseball. Factor that in with his on-base percentage, and you get his OPS, which is an embarrassing .671. How embarrassing, you ask? Try 163 points lower than his career of .834. His lowest single-season total up to this point has been .768. Now, we know he isn't hitting anything but ground balls and pop-ups this season. He's hitting just .239 right now, about 30 points below his career batting average. Just when you think that number's atrocious, don't forget about his horrific at-bats with runners in scoring position. This is a career .281 hitter with runners in scoring position and a great .874 OPS. If you guessed that this year's numbers in that category were mind-blowingly awful, then congratulations. A 163 batting average and a .470 OPS. And that all ties in with what will probably be his lowest RBI total in his career too. Now, I know some folks don't believe in the RBI stat anymore. That's pretty stupid. You need to score more runs than the other team to win.
You play to win the game.
So if you're one of the ones that thinks runs batted in is a meaningless stat, please indulge me for 1 minute, Your Highness. He's on pace for about 50 ribbies this season. His lowest total in a full non-COVID season was 71 in 2017. Once again, that was his first full year in the big leagues. As they say, folks, numbers don't lie. It's been a nightmarish shitstorm for Alex Bregman. At least his defense has been decent. I doubt he'll be a Gold Glove finalist like Matt Shaw was last year, but he definitely hasn't reached the Christopher Morel depths of defensive hell at third base. Either way, the Cubs didn't dump a busload of cash in front of his house just because he's an above-average defender. So that leads into a very simple question with a not-so-simple answer. What can be done about this? Well, he ain't going anywhere, so you can forget that idea. They aren't DFAing him or releasing him. He has a full no-trade clause. He signed a 5-year deal. At this point, there's not much to say about that other than we're stuck with him. And since you're probably a Cubs fan watching this, all we can do is hope that he'll turn it around. In the meantime, Craig Counsell needs to grow a fucking pair and sit Alex Bregman out for a while. I don't mean a game on getaway day. I don't mean a game before a day off. Sit his ass down for an entire series. Get him away from the pressure he's certainly feeling from the fans and is probably putting on himself. When he comes back into the lineup after an extended break, he better not be batting higher than 7th until he proves he's figured it out. I don't understand why Counsell has continued to have this guy bat 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. Speaking of Counsell and his
testicular fortitude,
I was pretty pissed off to see this exchange when Jesse Rogers asked Counsell about what he thought of Bregman not hustling down the line during that play against Milwaukee.
I know the play you're talking about, but I don't.
just sometimes happens.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I like Counsell, and I think he's done a pretty good job this year considering everything going on with this team. And I get that he doesn't want to shit on the guy to the media, but to blatantly blow that question off and act like it was nothing is fucking Bush League. Who knows if Craig talked to Bregman about it after it happened. If he did, he should have addressed it right there with something like, I talked to Alex, you won't be seeing that again from him or anyone else on his team. And if he didn't address it with Bregman, then there isn't much of a point in you being here if all you're going to do is let the inmates run the asylum. You tell me, folks. Do you see someone like Joe Madden, Lou Piniella, Don Zimmer, or even David Ross letting that shit slide? Now, as for the non-hustle play in question, let me start off by saying that I'm a hustle guy. Pete Rose did it right. Nico Horner does it right. Lots of players do it right. I cannot stand seeing pro athletes not give any effort and just phone it in. As far as this Bregman situation goes, I do think he deserves some flack for it, but when I look at the play, it's not like he hit the grounder, slammed his bat to the ground, and started half-assing it to first. When he made contact, he came out of the box hard. He slowed down when it looked like the shortstop was going to make a routine play out of it. My thing is, if you're running hard anyways, keep on running. 99 times out of 100, that play gets made. That one time out of 100 may show up, and when you slow down, it's going to bite you in the ass. As much shit as I'm giving to Alex Bregman, I think we can all agree that he does play the game the right way. He wants to win, and he does give his all out there. It just so happens he did something stupid at the wrong time, and he deserves some of his blowback from it. I don't think we need to pick a date of execution for it. I'd be willing to bet we won't see Bregman do something like that again in a Cubs uniform. And again, in this situation, I'm more pissed off about how Counsell handled it than I am at Bregman. Now, when we look at the whole picture that we've been given regarding Alex Bregman this season, are the Cubs fans completely done with this guy? The last few months of Kyle Tucker wasn't pretty, but that was brought on by him. If you want to talk about someone who didn't seem to give a shit, who short-armed a ton of plays in the outfield, and who had more than one occasion where he just showed no effort, that's Kyle Tucker. I don't think we're at that point with Bregman. There's a big difference between the two. Tucker checked out. Bregman's pressing. But sooner or later, you have to produce. The frustrating part is that this isn't some rookie figuring things out. This is Alex Bregman. This is a guy with 2 World Series rings, multiple All-Star appearances, and a reputation for coming through in big moments. Remember how memorable and exciting it was when it was announced that he was signed during the Bears playoff game? I think we all thought this was a sign that the Cubs were going to that next level. That's why this has been so shocking. Nobody expected perfection, and it's reasonable to see the beginnings of a decline at some point. But this ain't a decline. It's fallen off a cliff. So we got 4.5 years left with this guy. I really hope he can turn things around. If not, he's going to have a miserable time here in Chicago. But where do you stand? Leave a comment explaining if you're showing patience with Bregman or if you've already written him off as an overpaid bum.
The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
He gone!